Ironside will not be seen tonight, so we may bring you the following special program.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
That's, me kind of doing a very light take on the version of Batman I was raised by, which is sort of post-Neil Adams take, which he was doing the year I was born. Neil Adams was redefining the character kind of in the cracks and corners of DC when he was first a cover artist on a lot of the Batman books in the late 60s, and then once they gave him sort of the run of the place, his look, he kind of exaggerated even more with the lighting and the grandeur, the way he would exaggerate the figure form, the length of the ears, the length of the cape. A lot of it was just sort of aesthetics. He wasn't really changing the costume per se. I tried to illustrate what Adams did with a sense of maybe somewhat photo exacting kind of take on it, while also kind of avoiding some of the comic book tropes of the glowing white eyes, which I was always having a problem with as a kid, thinking about like how the mask is pretty much on his face like it's makeup. Like it's as close to the skin as you can get the way it was drawn by everybody, Adams included. And if that's the case, there's no room to hide the eyelashes for the human being wearing this mask, so basically just his natural eyes showing, but you can hide that in shadow.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time again for another Trek Watch on Word Balloon. Two of our guys are on away missions at New York Comic Con. Mitch will be there starting tomorrow for the weekend.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man. But I'm sorry it's been so long. I've been busy, and the guys, but I'll take the blame that we haven't had a chance to do a Lower Decks review in the last couple of weeks. So we're going to talk about 3 episodes today. We'll talk about 5, 6, and 7. And I don't remember the names of the episodes. Yeah, who cares? But, we'll just go the Beta Z episode to start off with.
Yeah. It's been a while, but yeah.
And really just in general, all 3, this has been one of the better seasons of Lower Decks, and I really think they found their rhythm because they're not only giving us the Easter eggs and the one-line jokes about, Riker's beard or, Janeway's coffee or whatever, but they're really kind of giving some depth to a lot of the familiar alien races. And starting with the BetaZoids, how long have we only seen Deanna Troi and Roxana? And now we get these 3 other BetaZ women, which I think kind of explains the matriarchy of BetaZ and just how they operate. I really like the episode.
Well, they're really calling on your prior history with the shows, and especially Next Generation, because we always talk about, who's this show aimed for? And since the BetaZoids were not really part of, they weren't really part of the original Trek, obviously. They weren't part of Deep Space Nine or Voyager for that matter. You really had to go deep and know all about, Counselor Troi and her mother and all that stuff to understand the show. But it was an interesting episode. It's been so long. I'm trying to remember my reactions to it.
It was the three BetaZ women who were ambassadors. And initially the feeling was they were using their telepathy to influence or accidentally influence the rest of the crew. And then it turned out actually it was Taval, the Vulcan, with Bendai syndrome, kind of like that Sarek episode of Next Generation.
Yeah, and that was throwing everything for a loop. And wasn't there the whole underplot that the pheromones, if I'm saying it right, the pheromones that the women exude made the men? I didn't know that was part of the the BetaZ lore. I thought that was the Deltoid. What's her name was
Right,
in,
the Daltons.
yeah. I thought that was their shtick in Star Trek the movie motion picture.
Well,
I didn't realize BetaZoids could do that too.
Well, it was more the paranoia, and again, it's because of the Bendai syndrome shit. But it enhanced everyone's, it their inhibitions in the same way that the Sarek episode did. But the captain presumed that the BetaZeds were up to something, so it was her paranoia that was leading to that feeling that maybe the BetaZeds. So I hear you about the pheromones, but it really was more, I think, just their mental telepathy rather than just pheromones, which is more kind of hormonal and sense and all that.
Yeah.
But
they're not going over the top in this particular episode. This is almost like, and maybe that's why you're enjoying these shows more, because it could almost be a live action episode of the regular Star Trek series, because it's not screaming, it's not slapstick, it's not over the top crazy action that couldn't really defy the laws of physical things, physics or whatever. But you could have actually streamlined some of the jokes and dropped it right onto a Next Generation episode, and it would have fit right in, and you wouldn't have even noticed it was
well, even some of the sillier Deep Space Nine episodes would even have, because I remember that one Deep Space Nine episode where everyone was in love with everybody. Jake was in love with Kira. And and also I gotta say, forgive me, but Waxana did make it to Deep Space Nine.
She was on there that time. That's right, for the wedding.
No, that was a TNG episode too. It was
they were naked. Yeah.
No, she not to be rude, but she was in love with Odo in a couple episodes.
That's what it's coming back to me now. It's been 30 years, but it comes back. But what more I was going to say about that episode? Oh, there was something in particular that I noticed. The captain actually did more. I mean, it wasn't just Boimer and Mariner, and that's it. The rest of the crew were all involved in the show, and they didn't act like just stooges off to the side. The captain kind of figured out this whole thing. Really, I thought, if I recall the episode a couple weeks ago.
No, and in fact,
played a good part. Yeah, she was more important to it, I'm saying.
Well, and truly, this most recent episode, today's episode,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, no, that's good. You have interesting characters beyond Mariner solving everything, and really, I even liked in the BetaZ episode, her and Mariner and Taval becoming better friends. And it's like, no, God, Taval, great addition. I mean, we got her in that first other Alien Lower Decks cruise. That's where we first met her and stuff. And it gives an interesting, different voice to the Lower Decks mix in the same way that the Darmok alien does whenever he says something. Yeah. So, it's like, no, this is... Why
do you think they brought that character on there? Because it's it's an unemotional... it's a Vulcan, so it can't be screaming and yelling and doing all that. They needed somebody a straight man to play off.
Yeah, Connor. Mel Brooks, one of my comedy gods, is like, you need the rough with the smooth. You need you need a counterbalance to make the comedy more effective and stuff. And you're right. No, totally a straight one. But even further, this is just an assumption. I've never heard Mike McMahon ever say this. I think they had a lot of fun doing that Lower Decks episode, which was very heavily on the Vulcan ship, very heavily on Taval. And it's like, hey, no, this is a fun way of writing. And it's Star Trek. It's that simple. It's Star Trek. Don't try to make Star Trek something else. And I know this is the self-referential show, but let's go beyond the Easter eggs and let's go beyond the one-line things. And I truly, that's why I appreciate all three of the most recent episodes. Wayne is watching, and
hey, Wayne.
And Wayne, is Room for Growth? Is that the name of the BetaZ episode? Because we're doing 5, 6, 7, Wayne, and we would appreciate you watching.
Wayne is our fact checker, so if it is, I'm sure that was the name of the episode.
Live from New York, and I'm glad he's
live from New York. It's
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry he's not having more fun than sitting and watching us. I wouldn't be watching.
No. maybe the marching orders. I don't know who's in charge of the show anymore. I mean, I know McMahon does it.
Like
I know, but I'm saying maybe he got notes from the producers that said stop writing situation comedy and start writing old time Star Trek, and maybe that's what's caused the shift, because it's definitely, there's no more the Mariner and her mom going at it. That whole thing's kind of gone out the window. There's a lot of things. Boimer's not the klutz. He's still a nerd, but he's not like falling down over himself. And Tendi is much more mature, if you want to use that term now. And Rutherford has gotten his own thing going. Yeah, it's funny. It takes 3 years for most of these Star Trek shows to get their sea legs or space legs, if you will. So everyone gets comfortable. But you would think that's in an actor, because an actor doesn't know where he's going at first, and then it takes him a while to get into the role, and then he claims it for himself, and he knows what he's doing, and the writers write to the actor's abilities. But this is an animated show. It's not that they're just playing off of voices. They're not playing off of physical acting. It's weird how the show's tonal shift in this season. So it's very apparent. I mean, I don't scream and get annoyed as much, and neither does this show that we're on here. We don't lose our voice yelling, I hate this show every week. So
no, I'm with you.
It's Stockholm syndrome. They've beaten us into submission.
I know. I said that a couple of weeks ago,
and we just go along with it.
I like the
show. No. I would watch this. I mean, before I was just watching it because the Star Trek name was on it, and that's what made me watch it. But now I say, I would watch the show even if it wasn't called Star Trek, because it has a decent setup within 23 minutes. There's a good resolution, and and they've got that B plot line that's going throughout the whole show with the whatever the hell that alien. Well, they got some more information tonight about it, or if they were.
Absolutely, we've gotten a little bit more information, and it was interesting because we'll get to that. We'll get to the most recent episode.
Are we coming to the end of the season? Are there only 8 episodes?
10.
Oh, there's 10. Okay, all right.
So we still have 3 more.
3 more weeks. Yeah.
And William, forgive me, because I appreciate you doing this, but I know the name Badgey figures into the most recent episode. So am I wrong? Are we talking about 8? Are we talking about 6, 7, 8? I thought we were talking about 5, 6, 7.
No, we're talking about 5, 6, 7, and so there's 8, 9, and 10, and that's it.
Yeah. But regardless, what else can you say about the BetaZoids? No, I thought it was fun. I liked it, and then certainly we got the vibe from Waxana that they like to party. So it's kind of funny seeing all the women like.
It was kind of like the Golden Girls on board the ship. Yeah, I was getting that whole B. Arthur vibe off of them, and Betty White. They just needed one. They needed one more to be the Gettys, the old lady.
Yeah, exactly. The mother, exactly. Rose, we're on the starship. Make sure you behave.
Yeah, they weren't bad characters to bring back.
No,
you know what I mean.
It was fun. Again, I think we've said this before. A lot of shows need a lot of episodes to kind of get in the groove.
Yeah.
Even though it's the 4th season, we've only had 30 plus episodes. So it's, again, I think these compact seasons don't allow shows to get their feet necessarily. I mean, some from day one, they hit the ground running and they understand what they're doing. But I really think this show has kind of gotten comfortable and better. It might be show notes. I don't know. I kind of am still cynical and think that the upper management of Star Trek don't know what they're doing, but Mike McMahon.
Oh, no. I would like to be a fly on the wall in some of these meetings, because there's, like I said, there's something going on.
Well,
it's definitely a different show.
Yeah, I hope you'll have enough time, because I know you're going tomorrow.
Well, you'll see, yeah.
But what was I going to say? The beyond Star Trek. I mean, you heard the Daredevil Disney news.
Yeah, they fired everybody and
Yeah, we'll talk. Yeah, we'll talk. I think that shows the reasons why are part of the reasons why I think Star Trek is not firing on all cylinders in the streaming world. I think it's the same problem where they just they want to change. In the case of, and here we're going to talk about it for a second anyway. There, the word is, if people don't know, they fired everybody that was writing Daredevil, and they want to start again from scratch as far as how they want to do the series. And the thought is, rather than making them self-contained miniseries, to make them with the idea of being multiple series. And it's like, hey, that's a great idea. It's called television. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's been around since, hell, the late 30s in England, and certainly the 40s here in the States and everything. It's like, no, that's how you do television, man. Stop trying to make something that it isn't. And I think, in the case of Star Trek, it's like, well, we want to dilute the product, and we want to get more people. People shouldn't be afraid of getting into Star Trek. Let's make it fun. Let's make it more open. Let's simplify it. And I think that's a mistake. And that's why I really think Lower Decks is an exception, where it's like, no, something, we are making this for the people that like Star Trek, that have been watching all the time, and that will get the references. So let's move on to the Ferengi episode, which was that Hear All, Trust Nothing, I'm going to guess. Or
Wayne, if you're out there, what was the episode called?
Well, he's got him in the chat. So it's either Reflections or Hear All, Trust Nothing.
Let me see him in the chat.
All right. And while you're doing it, so the Cerritos
go. Oh, there he is. Yeah. Reflections? Is that what is he saying?
Either Reflections or Hear All, Trust Nothing, because that sounds more like what the Ferengi episode was. Hear All, Trust Nothing, I think. Anyway, regardless.
Yes.
Cerritos goes to the Ferengi home planet, and
Ferenginar.
Ferenginar, thank you. Very, very good. Was nice. I wasn't sure. Very good. The Admiral, the Cerritos is hosting an Admiral, and the Admiral and Freeman are going to conduct negotiations with Rom and Lita.
Yes.
And it's pretty awesome because Max Grojnik, or however you say his last name, and Chase Masterson are back as Rom and Lita. Although you and I were talking last night,
didn't sound like them. Yeah.
At times it didn't sound like them. I think they overact because it's animation, and that's where you need a director and a director to go do their homework and watch some old DS9 episodes and be like, "Hey, this is the way you sounded 30 years ago."
Well, they're not that old. I mean, Chase Christine Carafano from West Haven, Connecticut, my hometown. That's where she's from, but she's Chase Masterson on TV. But she's been at Terrificon. I've met her a couple times. She's been at my show. Her voice, she's not like the Harrison Ford in the 80s and it's raspy and breathy at this point. She still sounds like she did back on Deep Space Nine, because it's only been a couple years since I last saw her. But the whole, I said to you, I asked if that was what is this?
Max?
No. Armin Shimmerman. I said, was he doing the other voice
last season when he was, or are you saying this season?
Yeah, no, because I want to know who was the other Ferengi.
Oh,
who was the other one? I said, was that him?
No, I'm sorry, I misunderstood it, because last season,
he appeared as Quark. But as soon as you hear the Ferengi, he set the tone for when when he first appeared on Next Gen, and then they met them later on, and they kind of like used him as a template with that whole like, hey, and they all kind of modeled their dialects after what he laid out. So I assumed it was him at first, but then even when you said it was Rom, I actually didn't look it up, but I thought maybe the actor, and God forbid, I'm sorry, but I thought he maybe passed away and it was somebody doing a sound alike, because it didn't sound like him, because he was a very distinct voice as well. When you'd watch Deep Space Nine, you knew all the different things. He was always more like not like a Larry Fine, but almost like it's like a Three Stooges type of sound to him. It was always like a Curly. Yeah, it was like a very dumb, like.
Well, Curly was high pitched, but I don't know.
Yeah, but I always got that. Yeah, his delivery was always a little slow-witted, like George from Mice and Men. Like, I don't know. What do you think we should do? And. Sure. But this guy didn't sound like that. And maybe you said it was the actor, I'm thinking, well, he hasn't played the role in 30 years at least or something. So maybe he kind of forgotten, and maybe they did it in his house. Maybe they did it during COVID. Maybe he was doing it on a Zoom call or something.
Like they used to catch Shatner on the road for the original animated series.
Yeah, it didn't say. Yeah, he was doing recordings in a bathroom sometimes, I heard, to get the tile to get a good sound booth. And they didn't sound like him, so that threw me off when I'm watching it. I guess Wayne's telling us the episode 6 is called Parth Ferengis Heart Place. Is that what it says?
Heart
Yeah.
Place, yeah.
Parth
And the Beta Z one was empathological fallacies.
Fallacies. Yeah.
And then
So
veggies.
but it was out of character because I assumed at this point Starfleet knew how to negotiate with Ferengis because they've been dealing with them for a good 20 years. I don't know how long it's been since Next Generation in this show at this point. So
sure.
It's got to be what, 15, 16 years since
I think more, frankly. Yeah, and further, specifically with Rom and Lita for that point. It's not that they're older and can't sound the way they did.
Right.
Lita had a much higher voice and a little more happy to please, being a Dabo girl and everything in her background. I think both of them, and I understand it, maybe a little time has passed. In her case, maybe she's a little wiser now, and certainly is one of Rom's advisors. But then you and I talked about this last night. And again, I get it. It's an animated show. They're going to go a little broader. They made Rom too simple. And it kind of bothered me because it's like, I think they could have achieved the same thing where Rom could just be Rom and be, I don't really know. Hey, you know baseball? And it was rather like he was kind of Rain Man-y, frankly.
Yeah, we said that. Whatever the politically correct term, he seemed a little out of it. And he's throwing a baseball, he's getting hit in the head with it. I'm like, hey, what's going on here with this? I mean, is this guy all right there? And as Wayne's commenting here, maybe the reason why the actors, here he goes. In real life, he's very soft spoken and doesn't have the original Ferengi teeth, and that kind of changes the resonance whenever they have like a mouthpiece and stuff. So maybe that's had something to do with it.
That's what Armin Shimmerman said, that it makes a difference.
But like you said, the character, forget the voice and the sound and the audio, it just was written out of character. I mean, like you said, maybe they're more sophisticated now. Maybe he's the Grand Nagus and he knows more. And but I was like, I don't know.
Well,
I find out.
I didn't buy
it. I was like, oh, they're pulling their leg and they're just using this as a negotiation tactic. And he's the good cop or the dumb cop, smart cop type of thing. And they're trying to get what they want out of the Federation before Ferenginar joins the Starfleet or the Federation. I thought they'd already joined it at that point because Nog joined Starfleet. That's why I'm like, well, isn't that a big deal when he joined Starfleet?
It was a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ferengi to join Starfleet. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I thought at this point they were there.
I think they were friendly or at least accepting to the Federation on a negotiation basis, but I don't think they actually fully joined. And that's fine. And that's okay. That's a good premise. But, and again, this stuffy admiral, oh no, we have to, bow to whatever they're saying. And it's like, again, I just think they pushed too far to the extremes. And it's like, you could have done this a little more subtly.
See, I always thought that the thinking was if anyone achieved warp technology, that the Federation under the Starfleet extended the hand to them because now they were warp capable society. I thought almost everybody was part of the Federation at this point, other than the Klingons and Romulans and obviously the bad guys. But wasn't it like everybody's part of the same team?
I think they approached them, but then of course it is the alien world's option to join or not join. Of course, that was the basic premise of Deep Space Nine with Bajor. Do you want to join the Federation?
Yeah, but did you think of it as being as an imperialistic society that if once you the Federation, once you join, correct me words, once you join the Federation or Starfleet, the Federation, you become a part of the Federation plan, which is like the United Nations.
Right.
So then do you abide by their charter on everything? So if you're like an Orion, you can't have slavery, you can't have whatever the Orion piracy.
The Orions aren't part of the Federation.
Okay, so Ferengi, but if the Ferengi join it,
but
aren't the Ferengi?
They hadn't.
Yeah, but why would Starfleet even want them? Because aren't they portrayed as this race of very conniving, duplicit, sneaky traitors? I don't know what there was always. You don't trust a Ferengi. That's what's always been like the established.
That was certainly the case with the Grand Nagus, who was in charge, Wallace Shawn.
Right.
In the original DS9 series, it ends with Rom coming in, and Rom is bringing reforms.
Right.
to the Ferengis. Therefore, the Federation is like, all right, Rom, we want to test
You
these.
want to come be
Yeah,
part of us?
would you like to join? We would like, the Federation wants everybody to join, and it's very.
I know, but I always think of what's in it for the Federation. I was always like, are they getting? No, seriously, I used to be like, are they getting dilithium out of this? Are they getting?
That's Dan Sheehan, who does Seriously Star Trek with Larry Young and John Price. That's his thing. He's like, come on, man, all the Federation wants is dilithium from all these planets.
Yeah, no, the older I got, the more cynical I got, because as a kid, you're like, oh, they're just the good guys. And now as you become older, you go, yeah, what's in it for the Federation? It's almost like a piece of the action.
Peace Corps, man. I mean, I always go back to, you got to remember when this thing was created. It was created during the 60s.
Right.
That undercurrent of Kennedy and certainly the Johnson administration and even Nixon was, all right, maybe there's an alternative to war. So they create the Peace Corps, and the Peace Corps goes out to the third world countries, and it's like, hey, we're here to help. We don't want to mess you up.
See,
we're here to help.
In theory, in the public relations, that's what it was.
Sure.
But as I got older, and it didn't take me too long to figure it out, I was thinking, they're hoping, let's get these people indoctrinated into our way of life, because we don't want the other guys to get them, being the Chinese or the Russians or anybody else, because that'll just be another enemy that we're going to have to fight someday. So the more we get on our side, the bigger our gang gets. And it's very territorial. And that's what I think is happening with the Federation. And that's why maybe the Klingons have a point. Maybe the Romulans do. They were feeling threatened because out of nowhere, the Vulcans are very logic. They've always done things that made sense, but they do the warp technology. So they're the ones that come to the Earth. And we had that whole thing on Enterprise where they waited 70 years after they learned how to do light warp speed to make them part of their group, because they wanted to see how they matured. But I think once the freaking Earth got involved, you just go right back to that capitalistic.
I mean, it's a question of indoctrination or enslavement, I guess, would be the Federation.
Well, that's why, again, the imperialistic stuff, because I start watching this show and I'm like, wait a second, I don't think the Federation is as good. Lately, it doesn't seem as nice as we thought it was. You know what tainted the well? Was that episode of, what do you call it, Discovery, when they went into the future 1,000 years or whatever the hell it was. And like you said, the Federation was broken up because they lost the warp technology, and everybody, there's the big flag that had all those stars for all the different planets is down to 5 because everybody jumped ship. And then I started going, wait a second here. If it was so good and, rainbows and sunshine, why the hell did everybody leave? And then you start to think maybe it became more like the mirror totalitarian type of thing. Shit happens. You know what I'm saying? The Roman Empire started as a good idea, and then when they're taking over the whole world, everyone's like, hey, fuck these guys,
I think depending on the main writers, you could certainly take it that way, and I believe they have. Yeah. I also have heard amateur productions that have done the same thing. And, again, and kind of in a similar way, without the idiot kids screaming and causing all the dilithium to become like Discovery.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They couldn't travel. And there was a very totalitarian true Federation that was very, very much a dominant kind of malicious group.
See?
And then there was, what was left of the original Federation and stuff trying to do what they can. But again, without the warp drive capabilities. No, listen, man, that is a fair.
Oh no, we could get into that. I'm honestly, in your opinion,
yes.
What are the better Star Trek shows or movies? Is it when the Starfleet acts more like a military? They have a war going on, like Run Silent, Run Deep episodes where they're fighting against the Romulans, or Khan.
Yeah.
Or it's like a total, battleship movie, because those are very tension and there's stuff going on there. Yeah. Or when you get what was the one Insurrection where this plays into what I'm talking about.
Sure.
The Anthony Zerbe, they wanted to keep that planet because it had the Fountain of Youth, and they were going to exploit it. and then Picard comes in, and that's not what the Federation's about. And then the title of the movie, Insurrection. So he's leading a rebellion against the Starfleet or whoever was trying to come into that planet. So you have this going on all these this concept of Star Trek, but for myself, I always just liked it and enjoyed it more when it was more of a war movie, when it was more like good guys and bad guys and
no, I hear you, but
Klingons are communists and we're the Americans and we're going at the comms and the Yangs. I've always enjoyed those episodes when I look at my top 10.
I agree. I absolutely agree with that. And certainly in the case of the movies, the more battle movies are superior to. Insurrection was a good idea and would have made a great single Next Generation episode, not a 2-hour movie. But that's fair, because honestly, Anthony Zerbe's Admiral character is like, why should we waste this opportunity to regenerate and heal, and not only heal the Baku, but let's open it up so that others that are suffering can get the benefits from that. I mean, again, he was doing it in a cruel way and displacing the Baku and everything. But you could argue, well, those intentions are altruistic in a sense, even though Picard disagreed. And it's like, you're removing these people from the planet. It didn't make that movie has a lot of problems because couldn't you have put them? Maybe what I never, and please don't make me rewatch that 2 hours, but couldn't they also send hurting Federation people without displacing the Baku? Because it seemed like it was still a small settlement.
You don't want to get in there.
Well, but I hear you, man. And again, this is why it's a flawed movie. But I agree with you. I think that the battle stories are certainly more interesting because good guy, bad guy.
You got tension, and it's like Star Wars. And Stanley, who said in the comments, you're supposed to be optimistic about Star Trek. It depends on who I think is behind the camera. Because when they did, what's the one with the Klingon homeworld, the last voyage of the Enterprise, Undiscovered Country.
Yes, Star Trek 6.
So Kronos is blowing up to shit, and it's going to fall apart. And the Klingons have 50 years of life. And Spock, being the pacifist and the true idealistic, the Federation has to help them. And then you get the old warhorse, Kirk, who's like, let them die. They killed my son. Fuck those guys.
Yes.
And that's the whole tension there. Yeah. And then you got Chang, who's just like Kirk. He's an old warhorse too, and he's going at it like fuck you. And they're going, and then you had the subplot that either depend on which show you watch that got deleted with Colonel West, which was Rene Auberjonois, and Brock Peters' character, where they were inside the Federation, but they wanted to keep the war going and they wanted the Klingon. There's a lot going on in Star Trek, and sometimes when they try to make it too real world to the world that we live in and try to show it in a space thing so we get to learn stuff about ourselves, sometimes it gets either too preachy or just it's like that's not how things would work no matter what you say. It's like, it's a utopian future, but it never comes out.
Look at Northern Ireland and the rest of Ireland, and they are finding peace after years of civil war. They are finding peace. And there are elements. There have always been elements within Starfleet that don't want to change or are a bit evil. You had Sisko's
Section 31 and all that stuff.
You have Sisko's old captain that becomes the admiral that tries to blame the Dominion and claim martial law on Earth. I mean, that's the thing, and that's great. And I don't mind when the and you can mention Anthony Zerbe's admiral character, Dougherty. You can, he's another guy. So I don't mind when those rogue admirals. Same thing with the Bajorans when we get into.
I was gonna say, honestly, that's why I think Deep Space Nine is my favorite Trek after all these shows and movies, because it seemed like a real conflict for that 7 years that show ran, and you had the occupying Bajorans, and then you had the Cardassians, and then you had Starfleet, and he was the guy in between trying to keep everybody from killing each other. That was such a well-written show because the overall premise wasn't just let's go to a new planet and find a big alien monster this week and Captain Kirk can go sleep around. None of that stuff. It was like watching,
it was complicated.
It was complicated
in a good way, and it made you think.
Yeah.
Everything wasn't black and white. It was like, well, wait a minute. Even Kai Wynn, every
Yeah.
now and then
Yes.
would
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
right
Yeah. Yes.
and
Louise
be like,
Fletcher. Yeah.
yeah, and it's Kira would be like, well, you were you just sat by and let them run over us, and she's like, I did what I needed to so that
Yeah.
everyone could survive.
To
Things are a
rally.
lot
Yeah.
more complicated than you realize, young lady, and it's like, okay.
No, no. I mean, honestly, and sometimes it's like not everybody's going to go study a history book or watch the news, but they'll
Right.
watch Star Trek because it's entertainment.
Yes.
But if you stand back and go, wow, they're really touching on a lot of heady
we're-
stuff. But the
world's on
cartoon,
fire. The real world's on fire right now. And,
oh, I know. Trust me, I don't
in
want
a
to even
very
go there.
similar
Yeah.
Star Trek way. So,
Yeah. And the Bajoran thing was all about the fire caves. And it was about religion and the prophets and all that. You could take that and take the world we live in now, and it's very easy to make that segue into what's happening. But I'm not going to go there because there's make believe, and then there's people that are dying. So you never make fun of that.
Well,
so.
I don't know if you remember, but when Deep Space Nine was on, remember Spike TV?
Yeah, I remember Spike
for
TV.
a while, they took it off during the post 9/11 period because the Bajorans were terrorists.
Oh, really? I didn't know they did that.
An uprising. Yeah, man.
Now, who made that call, though?
I assume Spike and Paramount, whoever.
Oh, they said, "Oh, we don't want to get like,"
and they're like, "Yeah, that's a little too political, and we don't want to glorify terrorists
right,
and everything." And it's again, I mean, I was bummed because it's then that we got Days of Viper reruns, and it's like, Viper when it was in first run.
No, I mean, like I said, sometimes with this stuff, you can step over the line. And then you take too much real world stuff into it. And I've had people say, Luke Skywalker is just like this intergalactic terrorist and he just blew up the Death Star and he killed thousands of people. I'm like, dude, he can also put his hand out and make a lightsaber fly across a room. It's called magic. It's called wizards and princesses and fantasies and giant robots. And let's not go there. Okay. It's a simple story, a farm boy, bad guys, good guys.
Don't you like Andor though? Because Andor is like the West.
I do, but and the funnier thing is George Lucas will say he wrote Star Wars for kids,
right?
And then he goes and puts all this political stuff in there about, well, it's going to be a reflection of the Vietnam War and the Emperor was really Nixon and how he got control and he took over the whole Senate. He wanted to recruit there, and then the good guys are the Ewoks because they're just like they're the Viet Cong. They were just more simplistic with their weapons, and here comes this technological marvel and the Empire, and they get to defeat them because even though they have these giant weapons and stuff, they can't beat the locals who are hiding in the woods. I was like, okay, dude, pick which one you want to do. First, you're telling me it's a kid's story, so I'm thinking, okay, it's a good story, but now you're bringing all this trade war, and you were cutting the trade routes out, and Gungans are fighting now, and I'm like, okay, you don't know what the fuck you're doing anymore. But anyway. Bring it back to Star Trek because that's what we're talking about. I know, but there's a whole other world you can go on about this stuff. And that's why I said this season seems to be better because it seems like Star Trek of old. And then when we get to this episode today, we'll talk about that.
Right.
So
well, let's do it.
It's all cool. Well, we didn't even really talk about the Ferengi one much. It was kind of a fun episode. I didn't take it very seriously.
I liked it.
It was fun. I watched it. Like, oh yeah, I know those people. I know I know Lita. I know Rom's brother or Rom. Rom. Yeah. And it's like, okay,
it was consistent with the way they portrayed Ferengi.
Yeah,
and it is great to see. I've read a couple novels that are post DS9 that have Rom as the Nagus. And okay, what's happening on Ferenginar now that Rom is in charge? And like I said, he has democratized Ferenginar. Women have rights.
Yeah.
Nita is right there, and that's great. And there's a man, I don't remember the title of it, fantastic DS9 book where Quark is still on DS9. They make Quark's the ambassador house representing Ferenginar on DS9,
like the embassy.
The embassy. Thank you.
Yeah. I know. I'm looking at you like an embassy.
Yeah, I'm brain dead, buddy. Thank you. They decide to display the original rules of acquisition, like showing the Constitution or whatever, and somebody steals it.
Oh,
and they call Odo back from the Dominion world to come back to DS9 and investigate. And he investigates.
Oh, cool.
fantastic novel. Quark is Quark. The guy who wrote it, I don't even remember, but
Yeah.
The characters are consistent. Everyone sounds like they should, and it's great. And I do think this episode, with the allowance for the extremes in Rom's simplicity, it's like there's Rom, there's Lita. That's great.
Yeah.
So no, I really like.
No, it was really good. And didn't Boimer have some weird thing on this one when he was locked in the holodeck? Was that this episode where he was doing? He was being tortured. He wouldn't leave. No, he was watching old movies, wasn't he? Wasn't that episode?
I don't remember.
Yes. No, he started watching the entire Ferengi television, and he got obsessed.
Oh,
with
that's
the soap
right.
Opera. That's in this episode. Yeah.
Watching.
He
That's
got
good.
addicted to watching.
That was
well.
funny.
That's the thing. It's been last week, and I'm like, wait, there was something else that happened, and I remember,
No, but you're right, and that B plot was good. That he's watching Ferengi television.
It would have been funny if he started his own like internet show where he just criticized Ferengi television, and it could have been called Ferengi Watch. Yeah.
Well, it reminded me of the good Rick and Morty's, where, and I don't know how much you watch it, but Rick jury rigs the remote for their TV, and he could pull in shows from alternate universes and stuff. And there are a lot of very funny ideas.
Yeah.
They come back to on Rick and Morty several times, and it's very, very funny.
The reason why that's been on for what, like 5 or 6 years?
Yeah, and in fact, I
think
this Sunday the new season starts.
See, that's why I don't do that stuff, because when it's been on so long, I go, I don't want to be Johnny come lately, so I got to start from episode 1, and then I'll be up to speed with you guys. But how many shows do they do a year? Like 10?
Like
12?
10. But also, there sometimes is a season-long story like the Mystery Ship that's happening on Lower Decks. But for the most part, you can just jump in.
Okay.
And it's, Dan Slott is the guy who recommended Rick and Morty to me.
Oh, really? My son watched it. He's Dad, you'd really like this show because they
very funny.
And I'm like, all right. It's like Murder in the Building. I started getting into that, and I just what do you call it? Binge watched it.
Sure.
It's just like it's on season 3 now, I think it is.
Yeah, they just wrapped up season 3.
Yeah, and I just like, okay, and literally I was drawing and I had it on the background and I just let it go continuous thing, and bang. And just did that. I just watched all 10 of them or whatever the fuck it was in one night,
So did you catch up? Did you watch season 3?
No, because Ordway kept telling me to go watch because Paul Rudd and Meryl Streep are on it. And I'm like, well, I didn't finish season 2. I just finished season 2. I'm about to start season 3.
Right.
Because honestly, I get the Hulu, and when I get the bills at the end of the month, I look and I go, what the hell am I paying for? Because if I'm only watching one show, why bother? I mean, honestly, there's the only thing, the saving grace about Paramount, as I noticed today, some big Paramount movie came on that I wanted to see. It's on my Paramount Plus. I go, I'll watch that.
A big TV series dropped today too, Frasier.
Okay. Another show I never watched one episode of the last thing.
Well, I was a big Cheers nerd. I
like Cheers, but I never liked Frasier when he was there.
I like Frasier. Kind of like your Connecticut connections with Terrificon and Living there. John Mahoney, who played Frasier's dad, long time Chicago character. I've met him a few times. Fantastic guy. Great guy.
Is he no longer with us?
No, he died in 2018.
Oh, yeah, he was good. He was the father in Say Anything.
That's correct. That's right.
I remember the funniest joke ever we used to do all the time. Lloyd. That's exactly, I'm incarcerated, Lloyd. That's the line. Because he's like, how you doing, Mr. Smith? He goes, how am I doing? I'm incarcerated. And my friend who's a lawyer now, he fell out of his chair laughing in the movie because he was just like, it was such a good delivery. It's like, what the fuck? How do you think I'm feeling? I'm in jail, dude. So
he made She's the One, the Ed Burns movie. He's also
I saw that.
He's in Moonstruck, where Olivia always sees him in restaurants with younger women, and they always end up like throwing a drink in his face. And finally, she's like, "What's with you and the younger women? What's your deal?" And it's a very cute scene. No, he's great. He's amazing.
He's not in the future. He's in a Harrison Ford movie. I can't remember which one. It might be Frantic. I remember him being like a cop talking to Harrison Ford in some movie in the like 80s and 90s.
And he was a judge in, I want to say, Suspect. Wasn't that Dennis Quaid's Cher?
Yeah.
I want to say he was the judge in that. No, tremendous character.
No, he was around for years. Yeah, no.
David Hyde Pierce. amazing always.
Yeah.
Great cast. Well, this new one, I'll very briefly say, I watched the first 2 episodes today, and it was all right.
Was it? Is it like Night Court? It's like,
It's better than Night Court. No, it's better than Night Court.
I gave up on that like after 2 episodes. I'm like, this is really. I like Larry Cat. I've met him. He's a nice guy, but
sure.
I couldn't take what's her name is
Melissa Rauch. Well, Melissa Rauch is great on Big Bang.
She is.
But I mean, no, I think
I didn't buy her as Harry Anderson's daughter.
No, I agree. Well, and it's interesting because Frasier moves back to Boston.
Oh,
he wants to reconnect with his son. His son is an adult fireman now.
Okay.
We'll have none of the old cast is there.
Oh, that's too bad.
That's okay because I actually
cameo, just
maybe later on, but not in these first 2 episodes. Maybe
just for a walk on.
Well, and certainly not only is he reconnecting with his son, but Niles and Daphne, David Hyde Pierce, and Jane Leeve's son on the show is also on the show and is a 20-something.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's all right. And then Frasier.
Yeah, no, I know all the characters' names and who everybody played. I couldn't tell you an episode of my life depended on it.
No, I get it. No, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
I'll certainly stick with it. These first 2 episodes, you're establishing the new, ensemble characters.
Yeah,
and they're okay. They're okay.
You know what the problem is? It's kind of like Mad About You. I love that show, and then they brought it back a couple years ago, and it wasn't the same.
No,
it's just and it's just like, can't you come up with something new? I mean, look, we just talked about Murders in the Building or whatever.
Right.
That's a whole new premise. Those are new characters. They're older actors that I've known their careers for 34 decades.
Sure.
But they're new situations. Why can't you take, I don't know, has what's his name? Kelsey Grant, has he had other shows? I'm not knocking the guy.
He has.
Okay. I'm just saying, why can't he be a new guy in another? Like Ted Danson. Ted Danson had like 4 or 5 different series. I mean, he was popping up on what was it, Becker, and then he was on NCI, and then he was on the movie. He was playing the mayor.
The Good Place.
He was on The Good Thing, but then he was on that other one that Tina Fey wrote that was very funny. He was like the goofy mayor in California,
right? The one from a year or 2 ago on NBC.
Yeah, and then he was on the movie with Talia Shire's son on HBO, where he's smoking weed all the time.
Oh yeah,
the guy was a murder mystery show, and
no, it wasn't a murder mystery show. It was it was Jonathan Ames's show.
Yes.
But it wasn't a mystery show. It was.
I thought he was like a detective guy. Was he right? Like a
no, he was. Thing? Jason Schwartzman played.
Jason Schwartzman. That's it. Okay. Yes, it was
his. He played Jonathan Ames.
Yes.
Ted Danson essentially was playing. Oh God, the great literary.
Plimpton. George Plimpton. That's right.
Zach Galifianakis was Dean Haspiel.
Yeah.
And it was their.
Wait, really? Yeah. Wait, Dean Haspiel, the comic guy that's coming to Terrificon next year, August 14th.
Oh, that's great. One of my friends.
Wait a second.
I always have
how is that all connected? How is Dean?
Because Zach was a cartoonist, and Ted Danson is the great literary guy that has the amazing reputation, but is kind of a boozer and whatever. And then Schwartzman is the aspiring writer, Jonathan Ames. But I talked to Dean about this.
I did not know that.
Yeah. I talked to Dean about this, and I'm like, hey, Dean, I go, when somebody plays you on TV, they're supposed to be better looking than you. And he goes, it's loosely based on me. It's loosely.
That is so funny. Now, well, there's a panel. You just saw a panel happen right here.
Bored to Death was
Bored to Death. Exactly. So you're going to have to do a panel next year.
Don't worry.
Where you interview Dean, because I want to know all about this, because I had no idea this was based on a real character.
Dean is one of my favorite people in comics. He's one of those, as I tell people, it's like, can't we all live on the same street so I can see you more?
Well, we don't want that.
Occasionally. I understand. Familiarity breeds contempt.
We don't want that.
That's absolutely true. Which leads us
twice
to
a month. Yes. Today's episode.
Yes, today's episode, which hold on, I'm gonna get it from
Wayne told us it was called something about Mary.
It was it was Badgey. A few Badgies more.
And you know what? I'll give you this. I never saw that B-A-D in the name Badgey as being bad as a character trait until today's episode. And I said, kudos to whoever the writer was that said, you do know the word bad is in Badgey, and we can make that like there's Goodgie and there's Logi, and I was like, that's fucking. It's not
Well,
like you know the 10 Commandments. He didn't think it was like the earth-shattering thing, but a little clever double entendre.
I'm with you.
And made that character become something else. And I think this was almost like a salute to AI, which was funny because you had the guy that was just at my show, Jeffrey Combs, was there as what's his name?
Agnes.
Agnes.
No, with an M. I screwed up. It's
Agnes. Okay, I kept thinking Agnes. We used to break her stones.
And Peanut Hamper right there. And
yes.
They were. You'll remember in the second Peanut Hamper episode,
yeah,
with the bird people, it ended with them taking Peanut Hamper in custody and putting her in isolation alongside Agnes. And that's kind of where they started plotting.
They have a romance.
Yes, and I give them credit for. I knew this was coming the way that episode ended. And it's like, all right, we're going to come back to these characters.
Yeah.
And see something interesting. So it was really cool to have Badgey and his various personas.
That they followed through with the plot thread. And I was like, hey, that was part of the show 2 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was, I thought, honestly, this was one of the best episodes of Vortex, in my opinion. It was callback to their own ideas.
Mm-hmm.
It expanded on those ideas. God damn. Great guest stars. You had Jeff Combs.
Yep.
You had Jack McBrayer playing Badgey again.
Yep.
Very, very funny.
30 Rock guy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was.
Who's the woman?
Peanut Hamper? I don't remember.
Is that somebody famous?
Maybe if Wayne is still watching, he will let us know. But
all right.
Regardless, she's very funny. She really wasn't. I would have liked to have seen her a little bit more. Because there really was more.
That was a great episode with Peanut Hamper. Remember that when he landed on the planet and became like the god and everything took over? That was a clever. And again, that wasn't really played for laughs much. That was more of a realistic episode. And I think that's why I remember it more, because it was like, that's interesting.
If you just twisted a little bit more to the drama side, it would have been a typical TNG.
Or it could have been a Twilight Zone. It was just a good concept.
But no, absolutely. No, she finds romance with the elder or with the son of the bird.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
it was hilarious. No, and that's the thing, man. It's like they found a really clever way, much like the lower decks of all the other alien races, where it's like you're telling an interesting story and throwing jokes in to support this.
I'll tell you what, I thought Badgey was going to be revealed as the guy that was behind the thing going around vaporizing all the ships, because when it opened, I said, "Oh, Badgey's been the bad guy. Like this is his revenge."
Or even Agnes could have been. Because
again, I'm like, oh, that's who's behind this. Yeah.
I was assuming that as well, but maybe not. Clearly not. And again, we'll see who at the end of the day, with 3 more episodes to go, who is behind the mystery ship. I love too that the Binars were back.
Yeah, that's who it was in the beginning of it. Yeah, because we haven't seen them ever, other than that one episode where they made the girl that was on Minuet, who was on Spencer for Hire.
That's right.
She played the second season. Rita Fiore.
That's right.
Carolyn McCormick.
Is she from Connecticut as well?
No, but I got her autograph around here somewhere.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
No, I like it. You know, it's funny. I'm a massive, not only the TV show, but the novels.
And no. Rita Fiore had a different
character in the novels than she was on the TV show.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. She was a district attorney in the novels.
Well, and further, they kind of suggested that Rita was a lesbian.
Yeah, they did.
In the books.
Yeah.
And again, unfortunately, 80s TV, you got to make it a love.
No, but no. When that Barbara Stock, for some reason, I don't know why they ever got rid of Sarah Silverman.
Susan
Silverman. Sarah Silverman's a comedian.
Right. You got it.
They wrote her off after the first season, and then they brought in Carolyn McCormick, and then they realized that didn't work, and then they brought back Susan for the third season. She came back.
Kind of like Gates McFadden with Next Generation.
Yeah. It's like, what the hell were you guys thinking? The love interest, it never worked well with Spencer and Rita. It's like, but now we're talking Spencer for Hire, which is a fucking 40-year-old show.
One of my favorite shows.
It is one of my. That's why my son is named Spencer.
Even the Lifetime movies after the series ended were solid movies.
Because you had Avery Brooks as Hawk. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you which ones suck. Joe Mantegna as fucking Spencer for Hire, and Ernie Hudson as Hawk. And you know what's worse?
Tell me.
Fucking Marky Mark is Spencer for Hire. Spencer.
But
I'll tell you who's good is Winston.
The MMA guy is Hawk. Is that what you're saying?
No, he's the M'Baku from Black Panther movie. He played Hawk.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
thought
he
an
was
MMA.
very good.
Oh,
I
I
don't think
thought
he's
it
an
was
MMA guy.
Oh, then I'm
No.
confusing the character because in the reboot with Marky Mark,
Oh, they made him an
instead of making
MMA.
Hawk a boxer. He
Oh
was
yeah. No, but the actor, I think it's Winston
well,
Dukes or something. I can't
and
remember his name.
and Alan Arkin as Henry Somoli was perfect.
That was pretty good. I like that.
Perfect.
God rest Alan Arkin's soul.
Exactly.
He was a good actor.
Oh my God, yes. It's funny. Walt Simonson.
Yes.
A couple comic book people that are big Spencer freaks.
I know. I talked to him for an hour at my show when he was doing signings for CDC or whoever
Walter?
in the back room. Yeah, we just started talking about Spencer, and the whole time he's signing these autographs, we're going back and forth about the Spencer books and then the Western books and the Jesse Stone books. And,
oh yeah, Parker was a brilliant writer. Brilliant.
Yeah.
And another guy that loves Parker stuff is Rucka.
Oh, really?
Greg
I
Rucka,
did not know
massive Parker fan. But Walt and I talked about the Marky Mark Spencer movie, which everyone
like it
on Netflix, and he said it was all right. And he goes,
right.
"Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's strayed too far from the original concept, and also, I just think
Too young.
Stacy Keach should have played Spencer at some point.
No, he was Mike Hammer.
No, I realize that, but I always felt because to me, Spencer was the wish fulfillment of Robert Parker.
Yeah.
And that's, so he put himself in the character.
Yeah.
So I
absolutely.
felt mustache Stacy Keach was more similar to Robert Parker than Pretty Boy Robert Urich or certainly Mark.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
Robert Urich was too. Yeah, I'll give you that. He was more pretty, quarterback football player. He was fine for TV.
Boy, oh no, I love that show, man. I love that show. So
you know who's on an early episode of that? Kevin Conroy. Go watch that. Oh, it's great to watch old episodes of Spencer for Hire because you go, oh, there's Kevin Conroy. And you know who played a great character, even though he was like a nutty guy, is Billy from Cuckoo's Nest. I can't think of his name right now. He's
Brad Dourif.
Brad Dourif is on a Spencer for Hire, and he plays like this wild man, and a hawk blows him away at the end, and with the big fucking python gun he had and stuff like that. And he's about to kill Spencer for Hire, and the hawk just shows like, hey, wild man, look over here. Boom! And he blows him away. That's when you could kill people on TV, and no one gave a shit.
I know I've said this story on Word Balloon before. When I got to meet Avery Brooks at the bar at one of the Wizard Chicago shows, I'm like, listen, I love Ben Sisko. You literally are my favorite captain. He smiled. I'm like, but my God, I've been reading those books for him. Like, you are a hawk. And he smiled, and he's like, I really appreciate it. And that's when I tried to buy him a drink, and he wouldn't let me. And he's like, you don't have to buy me
no. Real quick.
No, please.
So then we got to jump in because Wayne's posting some stuff here. I don't want to ignore him. But when I met him in 2010,
Brooks.
That's the same day Brooks. The same day I met Adam West and Patrick Stewart and Spiner because I was there to do some convention business there. But Avery Brooks was there with Cyric Lofton. They were working on a booth together. They had all the Star Trek. They had Delancey there. They had Spiner there. They had Walter Koenig there. They were all together. And I went up to him and I talked to him because he played Paul Robeson.
Yes, he did.
In a play in New Haven, my hometown, Schubert Theater. And it was a one-man play, if I remember correctly. And it was in the late 80s because Spencer for Hire was over because if you remember he was an adjunct teacher at Rutgers University in drama. That's what Avery Brooks did as his regular side job.
Sure.
And so he did this show and then he did Cisco and he came on and I remember talking to him about it. And he's like, you remember that show? I said, yeah. And he was such a nice guy, very interesting. Not that all actors are typical, but he was different. And so he was more intellectual. He was very astute and has observations. Sometimes you meet actors, and I meet them all the time. They're great people, but they're very oh, thanks for enjoying my work, or that's about it. There's no more depth to the conversation. But Brooks, I knew the guy for 5 minutes, and suddenly we're talking about philosophy and this and that. I'm like, this is a very interesting person. This guy, I could sit there and have like you said, a beer with him, and he could talk to you about music. He could talk to you about theater, art, whatever. Just a very, very cool guy. I'm sad that he doesn't do conventions anymore because I would love to have him as a guest because he just seems so interesting.
He's a fascinating guy.
And I asked him to say Spencer in my cell phone because that's my son's name. And I said I wanted that to be the ringtone. So every time I heard Spencer, I know that was my kid. But
and that's
wouldn't do it.
He's the kind of actor that is capable of being Hawk on the street.
Oh,
the
yeah.
imitator, but also, and it was in the books.
The
and when he was
sophisticated
working,
one.
the
Yeah.
sophisticated guy,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was he was brilliant.
That's why I don't think Ghostbusters guy pulled it. Ernie Hudson. I don't think he was more of the bruiser,
Right.
but he never got the other part of it where it's like, no, Hawk could be beating the shit out of you and killing you, and then the next day talking about Russian ballet or whatever. That was the whole
there were several other
dichotomy.
Hawks
Yeah.
after Avery Brooks. Nobody could touch it the way that he did.
No.
Kether Donahue is
Who I
Peanut.
don't know. Maybe that's a comedian.
She also voiced Jillian on Bird Girl.
Don't know what that is.
And is that Birdman?
And Walt signed his name.
Yeah, I think that was the spinoff of the Birdman show.
By the way, glad to hear that Louise Simonson is doing better. She had a bit of a health scare last week, but Walt says that they're back. She's out of the hospital. God bless her. And they were walking around the streets in New York. And you know how they always got these guys that try to give you flyers to come into their comedy club? And a comedian approached Walt and Louise and said, hey, do you want to go to this comedy show? And they passed on it. And the guys looked at Walt and he said, you look like you grow your own food anyway. I couldn't stop laughing because Walt's with the plaid shirt and the jeans. And I guess he looks like
they look like old hippies
or organic farmer.
Yeah, man. No. I used to work with old hippies at WXRT Radio in Chicago. Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, Louise, absolutely. And it is so great that Louise is up and around.
Yes. Yeah.
So big relief. Back to this
episode in progress,
which was, I think, fantastic. I love too that the Starfleet has like kind of therapy for the AI.
Yeah, I like that.
I thought that was really great. No, this was really, really fun.
Did you like when you change your color from red to blue? That means you're a good guy as opposed to a bad guy, which is funny because that's the lightsaber colors. Every time you see a movie and it's a red color, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Well,
I like how he can't fly. Did you see that? He was yelling at people. And did you like how Boimler says, I don't know how the Federation is going to fix this in 1 hour because he like took over the planet and then everything was like destroyed. And he's like, wait a minute. He knows.
Like the typical Star Trek episode.
Yeah, suddenly he just...
Sure. I also like the noise that Jeffrey Combs would make to exert himself to turn blue.
Yeah.
And I thought, ding. It's like, okay. Yeah. No, it was very cute, very, very clever. So
you know why? Because they're now using their own characters, and that adds a lot because they've created a canon, they've created a history, and I'm like, okay, let's bring your own people back in. Like I just said, why you can't go after 3 seasons?
No question.
You should be able to bring, like you said, the Vulcan character you like her. That's an original character that they brought along, and now it's part of the regular regime.
Yep.
No,
I agree. I absolutely agree. And concerns me because McMahon did a recent podcast interview.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, well, season 5. And he's like, well, I hope so.
Oh, really?
Well, again, the streamers are the only streamer that is making money is Netflix. All the other streamers.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, that's what they claim. Well, and on their public, no, but they do their quarterly.
Yeah. But none of these people ever give you the real numbers. Like, how big is it?
Well, they don't give you the real numbers of how many people are watching unless they want to. But no, I know. I mean, Paramount, dude. Since the JJ movies,
yes,
and the trouble that Paramount has had in trying to start a 4th Star Trek movie, it's not like they are sitting on a pile of cash and are spending their own money. They have to go out and borrow that money. And the people that lend money are like, I don't know how to break it to you.
I've not put my money up for that. Yeah.
Last 2 movies did not make their money back, and we're not interested. And it's like, okay. And I think, Rob Burnett on his YouTube channel yesterday, because there's a nice big article in the Hollywood Reporter about, the fact that, okay, the writer's strike is solved. Unfortunately, the studios walked away again.
I thought it was going to be fixed by this week, to be honest with you. And then I saw this thing on Mike Chiklis's page, and he posted screenshots of the whole thing. It's like they were at the table, and then the other one said no, and then they took their ball and went home.
Yep, they walked away again. Yeah,
and they're just shooting themselves in the foot because. And you talk about streaming. I just said, why am I spending money on Hulu? There's going to come a time in the not too distant future when the well's going to run dry of new content, and I don't want to watch stuff that they're getting in from Europe and England, because I've started noticing that I'm watching
Sure.
movies and I go to see where they're from.
Sure.
No offense to these other countries, but it'll say 223, Poland, 223. I'm not into watching. I want what happened to the stuff that we were
The good old US of A.
what happened to American movies? But no, I'm just saying, where are all these series that I paid money for? Where's my Ahsokas? Where's my Andor 2s and stuff? You know,
I'm slightly different. I am intrigued by other countries and what they're doing, not just the English speaking ones. I think I told you guys, they did a fantastic mini series about the creation of Spotify, and it was a Swedish product. Or another one, this show called Tokyo Trial is all about the war criminal trials of Japan rather than the Nuremberg thing, and it was produced by the Netherlands.
I never even thought about that until you just mentioned it, and I go, of course they must have had war trials for the
Absolutely,
Japanese.
they did. And I had never known the details, and it's amazing, and it's on Netflix. Tokyo Trial, everybody. Fantastic.
Well, you know why? Because wasn't it like a lot of the generals and leaders committed suicide?
No, it wasn't that. It was more a lot of the judges in the Tokyo Trial, good tangent, their concern was we are trying them for things, for crimes. We're trying individuals for the bad things country did, and we've never done that. They kept using Nuremberg as their example, and a lot of the judges were dissenting and saying, you can make that an argument, but I could argue the other way, that we are trying them for crimes that didn't exist. Forgive me.
Crimes against humanity. Was that the charge?
Count. There were 2 other counts. And these other judges from a lot of these other developing countries, like the Philippines, and I'm sorry, now I'm blanking the other countries, but India was another huge dissenter where it's like, hey, I got a problem with this, and I don't think we can do it. Now, the Western people are like, well, it makes sense to us, but because they made this not a tribunal, it was like 12 judges, and a lot of them were from the countries that were affected by the Japanese invasions during World War II. And it's like, hey, believe me, we suffered greatly, but I don't think you can try these people for those things. It was fascinating. It's so great. Tokyo Trial. It is a very.
And what did you see this on Netflix?
Netflix. It's on Netflix, but it was made by Netherlands television. It's fantastic. And it's funny. Wayne says, watch the flood of Canadian content washing over American content. Canada was also part of that group of judges and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was really great because I think sometimes we do get too U.S. centric when it comes to World War II in general. I mean, talk to the Russians. Communism aside, the Russians were the ones that suffered the greatest amount of casualties during World War II. And, again, there's a very different, and I'm not excusing Stalin and all of his tactics, but there really is a very different point of view of World War II from the Russians compared to the Americans. Anyway, back to because there are a couple other things about Star Trek. They announced that Prodigy is going to Netflix.
Yeah, I heard that.
The first season will be on Netflix, but in 2024, season 2 will be on Netflix. That's great news. It's an excellent show, and it's one of the better, I think, new Star Trek shows.
But the production's shut down. There's no season 3, right?
Probably not.
Okay.
Unless the thing is a massive hit and Netflix wants to put money in. Remember, initially, Netflix was Paramount's partner.
I was going to say, why would Paramount put money into a show that's running on a competitor?
Well, because they will make money from it without the expense of running it themselves. That's, Mitch, some of the best shows that are streaming right now are made by Sony. Sony doesn't have a stream.
I know.
And all they're doing is making money because they're licensing their shows to these other streamers and stuff. A lot of Apple products.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, we started watching some Apple show. I can't think of what it was, but it starts off with the Sony logo. And I'm like, oh, really? Sony's doing this? And I'm like, hey, that was pretty good, actually.
Mitch, and it's what I was saying earlier about this, like, hey, you know what we ought to do? We ought to make Daredevil not just a mini series, but an ongoing series. I'm like, yeah, it's called television.
Well, you know what? They could have their cake and eat it too, because I think the order is for 18 episodes.
It is.
So you could do 3 6-episode stories, under the umbrella of a whole season, but
But
you could
I
do
hope
6, 6, and 6, and then an overall story. I don't know.
I don't know, but regardless,
Yeah.
it's like suddenly making television is this novel new idea, and it's
Well,
you guys are idiots. You guys are.
I don't know what's going on behind the scenes that they suddenly said, let's fire this, because this was like before the strikes, before everything, a year ago, they got the order for it, because I saw Charlie Cox and D'Onofrio, and they slowly introduced him in, well, not the She-Hulk, but I'm saying the character of
Hawkeye.
Echo.
Yeah, Hawkeye.
And the Kingpin showed up in Hawkeye, which was already 2 years ago.
Yep.
So I'm thinking, oh, they're going to build this whole new, world with the Kingpin and all that. The hell's going on now? And that's why with this the actor strike, all these things are getting pushed further and further and further away. And I know people are going to think I'm crazy, but you do have a habit of short attention span in this country. And when people don't have something a lot, they forget about it. They really do. And the popularity dwindles. So I'm like, I don't know about superhero movies, Marvel being the big thing anymore, because it might come back and everyone's kind of moved on to other stuff.
We'll see how the Marvels does in November.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But what's the next movie though? After that,
the Marvels. Well, I don't know. After that, I don't know. The Echo miniseries.
Yeah,
I don't know if they've made that already.
That was supposed to drop in November, and they were going to do all of them at once on Disney Plus, as opposed to the weekly thing. Yeah, they were going to do. Let's try that.
Are you watching?
It never works. I'm watching Loki. As soon as we're done, I'm running up the stairs.
Oh no! And I hear you. So will I. But that said, it's Netflix. It was novel when Netflix started doing. We're dropping the whole season. We're binge watching, and then they realized, the buzz is going to go away
real fast
in 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah,
compared to Amazon and Hulu and the other streamers.
Yeah,
that release this, including Paramount, that release this stuff episodically. And are you watching the Boys spinoff Gen V?
I already watched it. I saw it. I watched all 3 back to back.
Okay,
it's only 3 episodes.
Oh no, there's 4. The 4th episode just dropped.
I'm sorry that I thought it was over, because I watched 3 all together and I go, oh, that's it.
No, Friday. I assumed it was going to be 10.
Is it 4?
I haven't watched the 4th episode.
Gen V, you're talking about.
Gen V, yes, the college. Essentially,
yeah. I know what it is.
Well, I'm saying for people who maybe aren't watching.
Oh, okay.
It's the same Boys universe, but what happens at the college level rather than when you're already turned professional.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
Is it 10 or?
I'm looking at the episode guy now. Oh, yeah, episode 4 was on the 6th. I was out of the country, so
yeah.
And episode 5 is this week. See,
there you go.
Here's the funny thing. I watched 3 episodes and I was kind of done. I was like, okay, we're good.
Oh, did you like it or so far or no?
Look, I don't know what's going on. No, I mean, I understand the story. I'm not stupid, but I'm saying, look, there's a whole other weird. I don't know. I don't want to sound like a conspiracy nut, but when I'm watching, here's what I gathered from this show. And somebody out there, please explain something to me. You have a show where you have these teenage kids. Basically, it's like the Professor X's mutant.
Yeah. Yes.
It's like the mansion, the X mansion, and they're the new mutants, except they're in a college program and all that stuff. Okay. There's one character, this young actress who's already been asked if they want to come to Terrificon. I say, I'll think about it. She shrinks. She's like the Atom. She's like the Ant-Man character. She could shrink.
Yes.
She shrinks by being bulimic, by making herself throw up.
Correct.
And that's what causes her to shrink. And when she does shrink, she's being exploited. There's a scene where I love the special effects guys on this show when they must have got the order. You got to build a giant penis.
Yes.
Because we got to have the actress riding on this penis because she's about this big and the guy's her boyfriend asked her to shrink and ride his
that's his kink. He wants the tiny girl riding his guy.
Okay. So I'm watching this and it's like, whatever. It's not a Disney show.
Definitely not a Disney show.
Okay, so the character, this young lady, she's I don't know, low self-esteem. She's small.
Well, but she's also a YouTuber or TikTok person, putting her video.
No. She's not.
Yes,
she gets used because she seems to get this girlfriend of hers that says, "Oh, trust in me," and she reveals her secret.
But go back to
but she says, "Oh yeah, the way I can shrink is I get thrown up."
When it was,
and then everybody makes fun of her after that. So I was like,
in the first episode, forgive me, Mitch, but
go ahead.
She when she has her new roommate, who's our main character, she has already 1 million followers because she just does happy YouTubes of, hey, here I am, tiny, running around. That's my point, is that she has established herself as a celebrity,
right?
In that,
and then her mother comes on, and her mother's like the showbiz mom, and like make sure your calorie count and all that. So I get that part of it. So it reminds me of these horror stories where you hear these things about like Disney or Nickelodeon, where they get these young actresses and they exploit the hell out of them and they make them the big stars, and then they kind of just throw them away. And I was starting to get this weird vibe about this. So anyway, so that's one episode. So this person who's trouble with self-loathing has to make themselves throw up just to get their power to work. And I'm like, well, that's kind of fucked up. And then you have this other girl, and she's a girl, and then she has her first menstrual period. And that's what triggers her mutant ability. Just like in the comics, when they matured, they would get their powers and stuff. So that's always been around. Like Rogue kissed the guy, and then she suddenly absorbed his powers and put him in a coma. Remember that? So this other girl becomes ability to control blood and use it as a weapon, almost like Gambit could do the cards and that stuff. But she ends up killing her parents, cuts her mother's throat, kills her dad inadvertently, obviously, not on purpose. So that's that. So I'm like, okay, this is weird. You got one female character who has to throw up to get her powers, another girl who gets empowered once she gets her period, but when she does get her period, she kills her own parents there. And I'm like, what? I'm not Sigmund Freud, but I'm like, what psychological things going on here? But this is under the guise of entertainment, which I'm like, okay. But even the boys I've had problems with too, because the boys is like, Garth's a great guy, but I'm like, it's not my cup of tea. It's not my cup of tea.
Okay.
I'm not, I don't go for.
The TV show is too extreme, or?
I'm not one for gratuitous sex and violence like that, where people are just killed and just for laughs. Isn't that funny? He's Jack, what's his name? The guy that's on the voice of
Jack Quaid.
Jack Quaid's holding his girlfriend's hands in the comic, and then the other, this A-Train runs by and he blows her to bits, and the blood and the brains are hanging out. I just never enjoyed that type of humor.
The violence is incredibly extreme. Envy. Yeah. I understand. Mitch, honestly, I wonder what the writers of feminist nerd blogs.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Because
what I'm saying is I haven't heard them complain yet. And maybe they haven't gotten around to it.
And then the other the hero, the kid's like the quarterback, the all-star, all-American guy, Troy Donahue. He's the flame guy, the fire guy.
Right.
He ends up, I'm ruining the episodes for anyone's watching. He ends up killing Clancy Brown, who I love. Clancy Brown, one of the best actors out there.
He's the coach.
He's the dean of the headmaster.
No, he's like the athletic coach.
Yeah, and he's manipulating all these kids. He's like, you could be on the team, but you don't have a good rating. He gets rid of this girl and your PR. Yep. So it's really fucked up how they're exploiting these kids for powers. But I get it. It's the world of the boys, and the Homelander's like a pop star. I get it. It's like pop culture. But now maybe it's bothering me because they're kids. Maybe I'm bothered because they're teenagers, and I'm like, okay, it's one thing to have an adult doing, snorting coke and killing people and hookers and burning people's eyes out and whatever with Elizabeth Shue. But there's something going on when there's just teenagers. It reminds me of those slasher movies in the 80s. Whenever like the teenage kids would have sex, the guy would show up with the axe and stab them through the chest and murder them. And I used to sit there and go, and I'm not a fan of that stuff either, but I go, there's something going on, and I don't understand a lot about
very Freudian. Yeah.
Yes, that's like when they become an adult and they have sex or they have something mature in their bodies or whatever, death comes with a violent spear and a knife to the eye. And I'm like, I don't understand how that's entertaining to anybody. I'm like, why is that
I respect
fun to watch?
I respect that point of view.
Yeah.
I agree with Wayne, who says in the boys' world, it's not about using your powers for good, but to use your powers for
Right.
fame.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, yeah. It's all about
Absolutely.
social media. Yeah.
But I also think, given the power level of a lot of these characters, as gross as
Yeah.
it is fair to assume that there might be collateral damage in the way that Huey's girlfriend gets
Huey,
destroyed by a train running
Yeah.
really fast and slamming into her, and the various things we've seen in subsequent seasons of The Boys. And these, I haven't watched the fourth episode yet, but the first 3 episodes of
Yeah.
Gen V, there's very, very graphic violence.
Oh God, yeah.
and
Yeah.
and but it doesn't, I understand, but they, hey man, it's an R-rated show. They
Oh
put
yeah,
the
it's not for
disclaimers up.
kids, but I know kids are gonna watch it. That's the thing too. It's like
100%.
you're not gonna
Well,
stop.
and again,
anybody from-
forgive me, I'm Uncle Buck. I'm not a father, but
Yeah.
but again, I appreciate this attitude towards the superhero idea
Yeah.
because it does something different with them. And it started with Garth's comic book with Derek Robertson. I mean, this is what it's the same kind of ideas. That's great. For me, I'm like, yes, because you need to explore beyond. I was just talking about this with
No, that's fine for an exploration, but are people learning anything from it? My point is, I think a lot of people just watch it as entertainment. Like we were talking about Star Trek before.
Sure.
There's levels of storytelling going on, but they're trying to, hey, idiot, we're talking about racism here. Hey, idiot, we're talking about war. Hey, idiot, we're talking about religion. We're just doing it on a show where we got a guy with pointy ears and we got one guy that's got half black face, half white face, and the whole lunacy of that episode with Frank Gorshin. And you're like, well, why does Loki hate this guy? Well, he's white and black, and I'm black and white. And you go, and Kirk was like, do you know how stupid that sounds? Because you're the same people. Sure. No, his face is this. And you watch it and you look how absurd it is. So I guess maybe I just have to open my mind up and go, maybe Gen V or Gen 5. I don't know if we're supposed to say 5 or V.
I think it's V, because I think it's like the stuff they inject kids with to become.
Okay.
And further, Mitch, I think they started with this idea with the hot blonde on the show, on the original show.
The one in the white outfit.
Starfire. Starfire is of course DC, but because
I know who you're talking about.
Because she is post college, just starting to get national recognition, and she discovers Wayne says it's the letter V, which is what I assumed.
Because Starlight. Yeah, and you know what? And that was a great episode because I remember when she comes back to the hotel after the press conference and she takes off all her makeup and she takes off the padded bra and the push-up or whatever they had her on, the Spanx or whatever. I think that, and you go, oh my God, this is what it would be like in the real world if this was a real thing. Homelander would be an asshole because he could do everything and kill people, and he wouldn't be Superman. He would be a vicious fucker out there that would be killing people, and if you looked at him wrong, he'd blow your head up because he could. And then they were showing this girl. They were like, "Oh, look, she's the hometown hero, the girl next door," and they cited this whole creation. And that's wasn't what the girl was like at all. She was just a normal person, but they have this Hollywood mentality.
The main character wants, much like Starlight, wants to be a real hero, but sees all the
Butcher.
I'm sorry.
You talking about Butcher? You talking about
No, I'm talking about Gen V, the main
I thought you were talking about the boys. Okay.
No. The Gen V character, much like Starlight, wants to be a good hero, but sees all the corruption even in college. And then you got her shrinking roommate who wants the fame and is willing to go to the extremes of bulimia to achieve that fame, but obviously wanted to keep it secret, but the one woman let it out. No, I think I understand, and I can really, Mitch, I didn't even think of the idea that it's menstruation and bulimia, and that how do women feel about that?
Well, you know why? Because and not to sound like a father, but I had two teenage boys and other young adults, and I lived through the college, the high school, and all this stuff, and unfortunately, teenage suicide and stuff like that, and people that weren't liked and tragically, and you go, oh my God, this is not to be taken lightly because you're dealing with a very impressionable young kid. And I don't want to be on my soapbox here, but I'm just saying, as I'm getting older, I'm like, look, you can't just throw this stuff out there in the form of entertainment and think everybody's mature enough to understand what you're trying to say, because they're not.
I would argue
a lot of people see stuff and just see it and go, "Isn't that cool?" It's not. It's they're trying to teach you, I think.
I hope people see that for the horrific things that they are. And I again would counter and say that I like it better that they are showing a realistic possible collateral damage of having these powers, and that it isn't just all, all right, good and everything. That's all fun, but I do appreciate that it's like, there might be problems with this, with having these powers. So as harsh as it is, I am glad that it exists, because I think
I'm glad if it becomes a fudgecational, whatever that term was, they came up with. Edutainment. Yeah. Because you know what? I'm going to tell you something. Remember the show V in the 80s? Yeah. Sure. It became very cartoony when it became a weekly show, and the Gooder and Michael Ironside, and you had the Beastmaster guy, Mark Singer. Yep. And then you had Jake Cutter's wife, Stephen, what's his name's wife? Stephen Collins' wife was on that show. She was the main.
And I forget Faye. No,
Faye. Yeah, Faye something.
I know she was the reporter, or she was. Yeah, actually, Mark Singer was the reporter. But go on.
Mark Singer was the reporter, but she was whatever. But yeah, he was the cameraman. Yeah.
No, that's true. Maybe she was the on-camera reporter. That's.
But the thing of it is, the premise of that show was brilliant at first, because it was under the guise of, this is what Nazi Germany was like. Exactly. This is how they came to power, and people were ratting out their neighbors and stuff because they wanted to be part of the visitors, and they were really the fucking Hitler Youth and shit. Right. It was very good, because if you watched it, you could watch it as a kid and just see it as entertainment and, good guys, bad guys, laser beams. But if you just stood back and you saw the overall story, that I think it was Glenn Larson who made that show. Maybe?
No, it was Rich. It was the guy who created the Bionic Woman, and he was the Hulk producer.
Johnson. Ken Johnson. Ken Johnson.
I believe
he's still around. He does.
Oh, I know. He's been on a couple of good podcasts and done very interesting interviews. Well, and also, Mitch.
But I'm saying that was a good, well thought out show that you could give it as entertainment, but it's also trying to teach you something.
And they had a Holocaust survivor character on the show who's like, I've seen this before. Do not trust the visitors. And in fact, just like there was.
That's right. There was the older character. I remember, and he had the numbers on his arm from the camps, if I recall.
Thanks, Wayne. Kenneth Johnson is who we're.
Kenneth Johnson. That's it. Yeah.
No,
but you know what though? It got diluted when they made it a weekly adventure show, and then it went out the window.
Well, it became a survival show. I remember Howard K. Smith.
He was the guy that would do the updates. Howard K. Smith. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And Jane Batter was the main
the hot alien,
and then Sarah Douglas came on as the Emperor,
and the Crypt Keeper was not the Crypt Keeper.
Robert Englund.
Robert.
Englund. He was like the simplistic one. Right.
He was he was an alien that wanted to live with you.
And you know what was another good show? Faye Grant. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Faye.
The other one that was very good was Alienation, which was based on the James Caan movie that had the Broadway guy. No, that's the TV show.
Mandy Patinkin was
Mandy Patinkin. Thank you. That was in the movie. But
Terrence Stamp was the bad guy alien.
That's right. He was selling the drug that they were all becoming addicted to. That was another well done show that talked about aliens being integrated into society.
I'm pretty sure it's on Tubi. Everybody, listen. If you don't watch Tubi, you don't know what you're missing.
It's free.
So many. It's free. Yeah, you got to sit through a couple commercials.
So what?
But there's so much great stuff.
Yeah.
Both simplistic cult movies and horror and whatever, but also a lot of shows that, don't stream anywhere else. Right now, Babylon 5 is streaming on Tubi, for example. It's and I know Alienation was there. It may still be there.
They did a follow-up movie a couple years back to try to wrap it up. It wasn't that great.
To wrap up the series. But no, Gary Graham took over as the James Caan role. I forget who played the Mandy Patinkin role on the TV series.
Oh,
but it was
fuck,
good.
I can't remember.
It's good.
You know what though? I didn't watch the remake that had Marie Baccarin. I believe that's her name.
Marina Baccarin.
Yeah, I didn't watch that one though. I saw it. It only lasted a couple weeks. She was on Gotham.
Girlfriend.
She's married to Commissioner Gordon.
She's Deadpool's girlfriend in the movies.
Deadpool's girlfriend, yeah.
I love
and she was on.
I did a panel with her in Orlando.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Yes, and honestly, well, man, it was amazing. It was her.
Very nice lady. Yeah.
Very nice, and frankly, forgive me, everybody, hypnotic. I mean, really, like, I mean, just like exudes charm and is a lovely woman. And it was, thankfully, decades of interviewing celebrities in sports radio and stuff, I could like keep it together. But it was also Martin Landau. Juliet Landau was on the same panel. And
who's that?
She's in Buffy. She was Drusilla, and she's the vampire that sires James Marsden's character, Spike.
Oh, okay.
And then also the woman that played Darla on, because it was a whole Buffy universe panel, and all these women that were on these shows. And Miranda Baccarin was on Firefly, another
that's right, Joss Whedon
show, yeah. And oh my God, they just these beautiful women, and really, really nice. Elizabeth Rome, who was on Angel and also Law and Order, very tremendous actress, very nice ladies. But
Eric Pearpoint was the guy on Alienation, by the way. Thank you, Wayne. I remember Eric Pearpoint.
Sure. No, and yeah, no. So anyway, Alienation is worth it. But yeah, everybody go to Tubi, because truly you will find, if you're not already there, you'll find great shows. It's like, oh my God, I haven't thought about that show in 30 years or 20 years or whatever.
All right. Well, we got to bring it back to Trek this week, kiddies. I picked up this.
Hold on.
It's the Halloween, because it takes place in the Next Generation. That's Riker as a werewolf, and Data as Frankenstein, because he's, robot monster.
Who's the woman on the cover? Is that Minuet?
That's Troy.
Oh, that's Deanna. Who
Yeah,
wrote?
they're all trapped on a
holodeck,
and it's like a horror movie. They've all become
who wrote
Picard is Dracula. It's written by Christopher Sikora. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Perhaps.
Is that how you say his name?
Yeah, I'm assuming Sakaria and Joe Eisma. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. No,
anyway,
man.
This is issue 2. Issue 1, it's coming out weekly, because obviously it's a 4-issue series. They're trying to get ready for Halloween.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
But it's very good. It's fun. It's like Worf is the creature of the Black Lagoon. Picard is like Dracula.
Hilarious.
And Troy is she's like Rama Tut, the mummy.
Yeah,
that's her right there. Yeah, it's clever. I don't know why no one's thought of it before. It's like, oh, Halloween holodeck. Oh,
no, that's a great. Seriously, I think IDW is handling the license so well.
Yeah,
really are doing inventive things. And you keep reminding me. I gotta touch. Hold on, I'm gonna zoom in.
See, Picard is there, and there's Worf is the amphibian man, Riker's the wolfman, and the mummy's bride. Yeah,
that's great. That's excellent.
Go
right now on one of my favorite, and I'm going to look up the title of it. One of my favorite, I think it's called The Secret History of Hollywood.
Yeah,
they're doing a multi-week thing on the history of Universal movies, and The Secret History of Hollywood. And the series is called The Universal Horrors. And it's just this one British narrator that's telling the story. Fascinating stuff about the Universal monsters.
Real good guy. J.K. Woodward was at Terrificon this year. That's Riker turned into a werewolf.
Did I miss J.K. at Terrificon this year?
He was there.
How did I not see him?
I don't know. He was there. That's Franco Francavilla. Francesco Francavilla. Yeah. I've been trying to get that guy to come to my show for years. He never does. So
he's a sweetheart guy.
Look at all the books IDW's doing. Look at that.
Oh, I'm aware, man.
You got Defiant. You got Spock. You got Worf.
Yeah, look at the crews of both of those books.
That's Roy Laren right there.
Yep.
Spock and Data. No, that's Lore.
That's Lore.
Yeah.
And then on the regular Star Trek book, Sisko is the captain. You got Scotty, Data, Crusher, and Tom Paris.
That's cool. And then there's another one, if you kids aren't reading this, is the Day of Blood series that's been going on.
That's the Klingon conflict. And Kalis's clone is doing an insurgent thing to the Klingon. I don't even know who's in charge. Well, Martok's in charge.
Yeah, General Martok.
And And Alexander is a follower of Kaelus's clone in that Day of Blood story. So Worf is incredibly conflicted because, of course, Martok is one of his best friends. And he's got to convince his son that no, Kaelus is wrong. Don't follow Kaelus.
No, you got to give it up. Got to give it up for IDW, because you're right. They just don't just put out crap and slap the Star Trek name. They're actually, there's some good thought going on behind these. Very creative, very good artwork too. Yeah. They're not just phoning it in.
They've been an incredible licensee of Star Trek stuff, and really, I think well over 10 years of excellent Star Trek product. Terry Matalas, who did Star Trek Picard season 3, he and Brandon Braga, well, at least that's the cover, that they co-wrote a very good Borg Next Generation story that happens during the 7 seasons. But really, Terry did the heavy lifting on the writing of that. And it's like, if you want another example of Terry's writing beyond season 3, it's called Hive, and I highly recommend that.
Okay.
And that's several years old, but it's great. Also, Patrick Stewart's.
I was going to say Patrick Stewart's autobiography came out this last week.
Interesting observations. He was kind of a little disappointed that during Nemesis, Tom Hardy, who played Shinzon, stayed distant and really didn't interact with the rest of the crew, and that kind of pissed him off a little. It seems like it pissed him off, although he absolutely says he thinks Hardy's a great actor and is really glad that his career has gone as well as it did. He also said he was a little intimidated by Will Wheaton's confidence in the first season of Next Gen, and that he was surprised that this kid was so poised and ready to do the show, whereas Patrick himself had doubts and wasn't sure how to play things. So that's a really interesting observation.
Will Wheaton does a great performance in Stand By Me. I watched it again about a month ago. It's not a long, it's only 90 minutes, which is weird because you think it's this epic movie, but Stand By Me is only 90 minutes. And for a young age, I think he was like 14, because I remember Jerry O'Connell, when he was at Terrificon this year, it was Will Wheaton's birthday, and we were walking down the hallway. He's like, "Oh, I got to call Will." I said, "Why?" He goes, "Oh, today's his birthday." And we started talking about Stand By Me as we were walking to the show. And I'm talking about River Phoenix and Corey Feldman and stuff. But he was talking about how Will, now it's out there, about how he had a lot of trouble with his parents on set, and they were really pushing him and doing all that stuff. And then even John Frakes came out and said that they had no idea all the turmoil this kid was going through behind the scenes and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, maybe confidence, because it's like was it him that said, if you don't do this job right, we don't eat tonight? Was that the
I don't know. I've never heard that.
There was somebody, a kid actor, that I heard an interview with recently, and that's how nuts it was. The dad pulled him off to the side.
That does sound, I think, in Michael Rosenbaum's podcast.
Maybe. He said, he said, if you don't do this fucking scene right, we're not going to eat tonight. Imagine being 14 years old and your family's income is like on your shoulders, like if they're going to have a house and
or
food.
On the other side, he was approached to do, it was either Valmont or Dangerous Liaisons.
Oh, and he passed it up. Yeah.
Well, he didn't pass it up. They threatened. Well, what they did was, he's like, "Hey, can I be excused for the first couple episodes? I mean, all I ever say is course laid in, Captain." Or
yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, no, Will, you don't understand. You're going to be such an important part of a lot of the first few episodes."
Who said that? Roddenberry?
Rick Berman.
Oh.
And yeah, let me tell you the story, because it's very interesting. So he's like, "Well, okay, I'm a good soldier. I'm under contract. I understand." And they lied.
Yeah.
And essentially, he said the hidden message was, "Fuck you. You're under contract with us. You can't go anywhere unless we say so." And that's when he decided, all right, I need off this show. Because if they're not going to be honest with me, and I'm going to miss those kind of opportunities.
I did hear that.
Kind of like Denise Crosby. Why am I still here?
No, and it was a big movie too that I remember hearing that story, and I think it was
either Valmont.
Did it go to River Phoenix or Keanu Reeves or somebody? It went to
Dangerous Liaisons. It was Keanu Reeves.
It was Keanu Reeves. That's who it was,
and it's a great director. It's I want to say
Kinski, Klaus Kinski.
No, it wasn't Klaus Kinski. It was not John Milius. It was the guy who did The Last Emperor.
Milos Forman.
I believe it was Milos Forman.
It was Milos Forman, because I've heard this story too, and he said he had to pass on that because they wouldn't let him out to go do it. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And I mean, so imagine that pressure not only at home but even at your job, and it's and being a kid.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
So I have when it comes to his experience on Star Trek, as much as I make fun of him about how he is on the Ready Room, I do have a lot of sympathy for Will Wheaton, because that guy went through the ringer.
Oh, I know. We break his stones and stuff, but I met him years ago at Super Mega Fest, which was a show up here in Massachusetts, and he was in line to get Greg Brady's autograph. Barry Williams was there, and I'm in line because I knew the promoter. We're just fooling around with the actors, and there's Will Wheaton in front of me. And I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I want to meet Barry Williams," because he's like, a child actor. They had a similar lifestyle because he grew up on TV. And he went up to him, and he was literally shaking when he shook hands with Greg Brady there. And Greg Brady stood up and said, "Oh, how are you doing? I know your work. I've seen you in the movies and TV." And it was just so funny that you had the older teenage hero heartthrob with the young. He's in his probably 30s by then. I think maybe 40s when I saw that.
Yeah.
And it was just they had similar backgrounds and stuff. And you're like, wow,
that's cool.
He wasn't a bad dude after all, Jerry O'Connell's cool. And all the Star Trek connections. I never even thought about that. O'Connell, Stand By Me, is on Lower Decks, and then you got Will Wheaton, obviously, who is on Next Generation. If Corey Feldman shows up on like Deep Space Nine,
God forbid,
right?
Only if he's an alien. Only if he's an alien. Corey Feldman.
No.
It's sad. I like the other Corey better, and then sadly he's no
Corey Haim.
Corey Haim,
yeah.
Oh well, what are you gonna do?
Oh well, things are gonna be there. So this week we got. Oh, I did watch the making of. We didn't talk about Short Treks.
Oh, thank you, Mitch. Jesus, I would have forgotten. Very Short Treks wrapped up. 5 episodes.
Yes.
We didn't talk about.
Speaking of the 70s, the last episode was like a salute to the 70s with the fucking like Brady Bunch type of kid thing with the music going on in the background, and it was like that. I don't know, drug-induced 1970s cartoons that we used to watch, where they'd have like they were playing music. What was it? Riker was singing a song about. They were all singing a song. Sulu was on it. Oh my, was it called Oh My?
And then Tendi was singing as well.
Tendi was on it. Yeah, the whole.
I liked the last 2. They were the best ones. And if you want to talk about the 5th one first, I'm fine with that.
No, that's the one I remember the most, because out of all of those gross out shows that they did, the snot one and whatever the hell, the broom going up the guy's ass, what the fuck that was about?
The bloopers, yeah.
Yeah, the bloopers, yeah. That one was actually like captured the flavor of the 70s Star Trek show and put it in context. And I go, oh, is that what they were going for? And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about a documentary I saw about it. But what was the 4th episode that I don't even remember what it was?
The holograms, and each time it started with Riker watching Enterprise, and then it turned out that was a hologram situation.
Oh yeah,
successive one, and I thought that was fun, and it was fine, and I thought, all right, that was clever, and again, it was within kind of.
It was very short. It was short. It was like 2 minutes.
They went with the one concept, and it was like a kaleidoscope. They kept pulling back.
Yeah.
Like, all right, no, that's a hologram. Well, that's
and Trip was on it from Enterprise.
Yes, at the beginning, no, it was kind of a variation of how that last episode of These Are the Voyages, the last Enterprise episode, where it's Riker and Troy before it was set supposedly for the Pegasus episode. Yeah. And that was fine. I liked it. And I also liked, even though it was kind of a throwaway thing as far as a concept, I liked the 5th episode. I'm glad Eric's and Emrys or Mares got used as much as they did.
Yes.
They called it all a salute to the Filmation show. And I do want to know about the documentary. But frankly, with the exception of it being drawn in that Filmation style,
it was.
I really didn't feel like it was.
I watched it today, and they showed the kid that was behind the scenes. I don't know his name off the top of my head because it's like John something with a C, and he, you know what, he looks like us. He was a little paunchy guy, glasses on. Imagine that. Like when I tell people, oh, there was a guy at the comic store. What do he look like? Oh, he's kind of heavy and he had glasses. And my friend goes, that's 99% of the people that walk through the store, buddy. So he was talking about how he loved Star Trek, the cartoon, the Filmation show as a kid, and he didn't understand obviously how networks work and how it show. He would just watch it, and then it just stopped. And he told his mother, "Where's the rest of these?" And they said, "That's it." He's like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "There's no more." And he's like, "Well, I want more." And like, "Well, there's only 13 episodes or whatever the hell it was. 2 seasons.
17,
I don't know.
I want to say
17. Okay.
Somewhat.
So then he gets the assignment, and this was Paramount asked him. I don't know how he applied, but they wanted to salute the 50th anniversary, I guess it is, of the original film. And so they told him, here's your playground, grab any of the other previous Trek shows and do it in the similar style of that Filmation thing, but have fun with it and go crazy, which was like, I wouldn't have told him to do that. But he talked about how he got to work with George Takei, and he was just like, "Oh, I can't believe I was meeting my heroes and I had to not fanboy out." It's about 5 minutes. It's on the Trek Paramount YouTube channel.
Yes,
and it's just kind of interesting to watch. But I'm going to tell you this: there were better cartoons done in the vein of that old show by, I guess, fans made them.
Yes.
That I've watched them before, which was Next Generation, and they had the static like Enterprise coming across the screen, and they had the
they made the Borg
the music. Yes, they did the Borg one. Yes, and it was that like and the faces didn't move really, and maybe the eyebrow arched up, and that was about the only animation. Those were better.
Yes, they were.
Than this thing, because this thing looked okay, but
the comedy sucked.
The comedy was like fucking, I told you, bad Saturday Night Live sketch. You're like, huh?
I think you're being kind comparing to SNL. It was terrible, and not even.
Well, it's the 1985 season of SNL when they had like Downey Jr. on there and Randy Quaid and Terry Sweeney and Michael Hall, Michael Hall,
Charles Rocket.
Charlie Rocket. Oh, there was a bad season.
Yeah, it was actually that was 79, 80 or 80, 81.
No, that was the Dick Ebersol season, wasn't it? They got rid of Lorne Michaels and Ebersol came in.
No, there was. Forgive me, but there was an interim before Dick Ebersol joined. Gene Dumaine, who was Lorne Michaels Jr., was elevated to senior producer. I had the pleasure of watching Gene Dumaine because she was very involved with a lot of Woody Allen movies in the 80s.
Yeah.
And for a woman that was involved in comedy, she had no sense of humor.
No, that was the hard year. That's right. That's the year after Bill Murray and everybody left, right? After Garrett Morris left.
Yep.
And they had that 1 year.
Yeah. Gilbert Godfrey was part of that.
Yeah.
Terry, like you said, I would think Terry
Sweeney.
The woman that was on that Dream On show on HBO that played the secretary was one of the Denny Dillon. I remember Denny Dillon.
Yeah. She was the blonde. She used to do the cheerleading bit. Didn't she used to jump on the weekend?
That's
on the weekend. Well, I thought Dillon did once on the table in Weekend Update.
Maybe
she did a split. You were like, what the?
Oh, no. That's Victoria Jackson.
Okay.
Anyway, regardless.
No,
that was the very non-funny SNL year. Like you said,
it was painful that year. That was one. Wasn't it one and done?
Yeah,
like they got rid of everybody after that.
Right.
Boom.
And then they brought in Ebersol, and then
Piscopo came and Eddie Murphy and those.
Piscopo and Murphy were actually part of that Gene Dumaine cast, and Eddie joined at the very end of the season, but it was too late. Yeah. And he was like a featured player.
He was like 16 years old. Yeah, he was a kid. Yeah,
very young. So
and they're the only ones that made the cut and survived. Everybody else was like, "Get the hell out of here."
Yep. Well, and Charles Rocket dropped the F-bomb on the show.
That's the Charlene Tilton episode where we shot Charlie Rocket. Yeah.
Correct.
I wish I knew who the fuck did it. He was fired the next day.
Yep. Gilbert Godfrey
killed himself.
I'm aware of that. He's in
cut his own throat. Where did he live? Connecticut.
Oh, that sucks. He was the bad boyfriend in the Gina Davis, Jeff Goldblum movie, Earth Girls Are Easy.
He was the general or the colonel in Dances with Wolves.
There you go.
That what's his name? Word for Kevin Costner. I think that was his commanding officer.
Superior officer. Okay.
He was in a science fiction show that I think about it. Charlie Rocket.
I don't know, but like I said, he was in Earth Girls Are Easy with.
That was a horrible movie. I saw that. I saw that in a test screening. We had to fill out paperwork after the movie's over.
I liked it.
Jim
Julie Brown.
Carrey, right?
Jim Carrey was one of
Jeff
the aliens.
Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum was the lead alien, and Julie Brown did a lot of songs.
Downtown Julie Brown?
No, that isn't that the black Julie Brown? This is white redheaded.
I thought
Julie Brown.
Oh, okay. I thought she was Downtown Julie Brown.
I probably am getting them.
Whatever.
One
yeah.
of the Julie Browns.
Yes.
But yeah, Wayne, I agree with you. Very short treks in general.
Blue triple
balls. I quite agree.
Is that a thing?
There it is now.
It is now. Triple balls.
Well, they eat.
Ask for it, kids.
They gotta fart and let go of their waste in some way. God only knows. And I don't want to know. Let's hope. Likely a subject for should there be a season 2 of Very Short Treks. I'm sure they'll look.
No.
It'll be interesting if they make more. I don't know.
They're not gonna. It was a salute to the show. It's done.
Like I said with Mike McMahon. I think the future of Trek is. As far as this regime making new stuff, it'll be very interesting. I don't know if it was on our last show, but I think I told, if not all of you, maybe just Franco, that the possibility is we might not get a third season of Strange New Worlds. They might just make a TV movie to wrap up the cliffhanger, because again, they're hurting for money, and they're like, we made too much. We spent too much money.
Shut up.
I swear to God, that's one.
I know Anson Mount is making pottery every fucking day in his kiln. That's all he does is post pictures. Well, he's not. They're not working right now, but he's over. He's somewhere here in Connecticut, and he's at his kiln every day making pottery. So
getting contact highs from whiffing the
from kiln. All the glaze.
Exactly. Glaze. Oh yeah. There you go. I'm trying to. I think that's it. As far, I'm really glad you reminded me about Very Short Treks and the IDW stuff. I wouldn't have covered that, so I'm glad you did that.
And Patrick Stewart's book, and
I knew that I was going to.
I don't think there's any other Trek stuff going on.
No, and again, the news that Prodigy, thankfully, is
no one passed away other than Phyllis Coates, the original Lois Lane, at 90, who honestly I thought died years ago.
So did I, frankly.
I saw the thing come across. I go, oh, is this like from like 10 years ago? They go, no, she's only 90. I go, wait a minute. How old was she when she was on fucking Superman? Like 15?
Well, remember in the 90s, she played Lois's mom on Lois and Clark. They brought her back.
Okay, but that was still 30 years ago.
I understand that, and I agree with you. I thought
she was in her 60s. Yeah, so
hey, 19... listen, I love Noelle Neal. She was amazing, and she was my Lois Lane more than any other television Lois Lane. But that said, I go back and watch that first season of Superman. Yeah. Phyllis Coates was great. And that show was, dare I say, and I say this softly, grittier.
Yes. Yes. The first season of Superman, the show, is much like the radio show. And he was kicking ass. He was like not fucking around with people.
Yep.
Is that the one where he leaves the two people to freeze to death on the mountaintop?
I think that was a color episode, but I could be wrong.
Oh, I was always like, what?
But regardless.
No, when they brought on Chuck Connors with the mule, then the show was going off this. It was
a kid's show, and they really leaned into the fact
that when he was fighting pirates, when it turned into color, it was on color.
Exactly, and that's why I think it was only one season, black and white.
Oh, was it?
I think I could be wrong, but I believe that's the case. Hey, and again, listen, it's a tough watch for younger people. I get all that, but
I loved it as a kid. Are you kidding me? In the 70s, I ran home and Superman was on.
I'm sure.
You know who wrote that opening, by the way, kids? Stinky from the Little Rascals became a writer for Paramount, and he wrote that strange being from another planet who, disguised as Clark Kent, fights a never-ending battle for truth, justice, in the American way, because he got hired by the Fleischer Studios to write the shows, the movies they made, and they said, well, you got to come up with a real quick intro for people that don't know who he is, because this is again 1941. So he's the one that did that, sent here from the doomed planet Krypton, but found, So that whole thing, faster than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings, sing about. Yeah. That's that guy, faster than a speeding bullet.
Wow.
I'm shocked.
I'm reading, Voices from Krypton.
Yes.
This book by Ed Gross. And it's an oral history book, and they interview. It's great. They've collected all these interviews, both living and dead people that were involved in Superman throughout the years, whether it was the Fleischer shorts,
Mhm.
Lots of Bud Collier, the radio and.
I worked with Bud Collier's granddaughter and
Oh, that's cool.
Norwalk. Yep. I tried to get her to the show. I wanted to bring her to Terrificon because she's like, my grandfather was Superman. And we were sitting down one day and I didn't realize that her name was Reed Collier. And I'm like, wait, what? And then I'm like, wait, Bud Collier? And she's like, yeah, that was my what the fuck? Your grandfather was Superman, and he also did the cartoon voice for first in the 60s. Yeah,
which literally was one of the very first Saturday morning cartoons. The tradition of Saturday morning cartoons started with that Filmation Superman.
Yep.
And
in
also,
fact,
he's the guy in the radio thing. This is a job for Superman.
Or Superman. Yeah, we used to crack up because I would listen to that with my younger son Owen. They had this guy who did a podcast, and he would put. I guess they're all, what do you call it? Public domain now. Sure. And he would put on the Superman radio show.
Oh,
and
yeah. Public domain. Yes.
My kid would go to bed listening to it every night. We'd have it like, tonight's show is brought to you by Pep Cereal. Pep, the one you want. Get your free Pep button, kids. So it'd be like, now back to the adventures of Superman. And he'd be like, oh, hey, Lois, I think this looks like a job for Superman. And he would take his pants off and his voice would change. And my kid would not stop laughing because he thought that was hysterical. He's like, every time he drops his pants to go to the bathroom, does his voice change? They're like, I've really got to take a hell of a shit right now. So, hold on, Lois. I really want to bang you like you wouldn't believe. Wait, what's happening, Clark? Why did your voice change when you dropped trow?
Well,
I don't know.
Think of that great scene in the first movie with Christopher Reeve when, oh gosh, Lois, whatever. And then he literally stands up straight, so it looks like he grew like 3 inches.
Yeah.
Lois, I have something to tell you, and then
it's like
whips out, and it's well, and again, it started with Bud on the radio, and then he did it in the cartoons. In fact, one of the interview snips from the book. Supposedly, he's like with the cartoon, he's like, "Can't you just show him like changing? Like, do you really need me to say it?" And they're like, "Oh no, we love that."
No. You know, when I talked to Kevin Conroy when he used to come to my show, God rest his soul, I asked him if he did that, and he said, "Yeah, he always made." And he's talked about it too. He would do Bruce Wayne as kind of like a buffoon. It's like, oh hi, I'm a drunk Playboy millionaire. He never was, never to take it serious, and it was always because the way he did it. Batman was always running the show. Like he was in his head, he was like the serious, I'm the Dark Knight, that type of thing. And Bruce Wayne was the disguise that he put on for people. That's right. He said he would change his voice. And I asked him, he knew Bud Collier. He knew the whole thing about how they changed the voice to I'm Batman as opposed to this, So a lot of people don't get that. Like Christian Bale with the that's you're over the top, buddy. Okay, you're fucking nuts. You don't need to talk like a goddamn greyhound, a dog, No,
I'm with you. That's
called acting.
Voices from Krypton is the name of the book. If you're curious,
Ed Gross is funny. I think he wrote that article because I read this in one of those retro fan magazines, which is put out by Tomorrow Press, and they had a whole article about the Superman animated show. I think it's in the latest issue, and I was reading that on the airplane. That and Charlton Companion, kids. Go out and buy the Charlton Companion by John B. Cook and John Morrow, I believe. It's the history of Charlton Comics, Connecticut's own. The three-legged dog of comic books, they call it. That's what Bob Layton calls it, of comic companies. There was Marvel, there was DC, there was Dell, there was Harvey, there was Archie, and way in the back, there's Charlton Comics that, they're still there.
Yeah, but I mean, as well as I do, John Byrne.
Joe Staten came from there. Dick Giordano worked there. Wally Wood. Steve Ditko worked there. It's like Mickey Spillane worked there in the 50s.
The Batman Brave and Bold artist, Jim Aparo.
Jim Aparo started over there. Don Newton.
Kupperberg, I believe, worked there for a while.
Kupperberg was first job he sold. Roy Thomas sold a story to them too. So all these guys that would go on, Mike Zeck worked there as well, and Neil Adams and Carl Potts did some of the $6 Million Man emergency books. All these guys that would become famous in the industry started over there. So,
Agreed. No, I agree.
It's a good book, so get a chance to get it. It's called the Charlton Companion by Tomorrow. It just came out like a while ago. So.
Well, and I mean, I don't want to spoil, but their behind the scenes operation is a very fascinating story.
Oh my God, everything was done in one building, buddy. In
Okay,
Derby,
that's okay.
Connecticut.
That doesn't really spoil the dirty stuff, and I don't want you to.
No, there's a whole other stuff about it's
But
a
it
lot
is
of
cool. You're right.
mafia stuff. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. There was no, they were everything happened in the building in terms of turning your scripts in, and in the back where the printing press is.
Yeah.
So no, it's
They were like, here's the guy writing it, here's the guy drawing it, here's the guy putting the plate, here's the colorist, here's the printer, and they're stapling it and they're putting it on the truck. All within this multi-block building in Derby, Connecticut was the trial, and they never stopped the presses 24/7. I think 2 days a year they stopped them to clean the presses, but other than that, you just kept those fucking things going all day. They were doing the hit parade, some porno magazines, comic books. They just kept printing and printing and printing, because if they weren't printing, they weren't making money. And they were doing anything. Sometimes they didn't own the copyright of the things they were printing.
Spoiler.
Got a little trouble. What are you gonna do?
Exactly.
Federal Trade Commission, schmission. Who cares? The kids don't know. It's for the kids, Johnny.
I hear you, buddy.
All right, that's it.
Yeah, no, we did good, Lord. We spoke for 2 hours.
We're better without those other two guys. Hi, Wayne.
They get in the way. They
Hey,
always
Franco.
I hope they're having fun. I hope you have fun in New York this week.
Oh, I will. Can't wait to go tomorrow.
I got to be honest. Mitch,
I'll wait till Saturday. Actually, I don't want to go.
I understand. I really, as much as I miss everybody, and I feel like I always say when there's a big convention going on and I'm not there, I feel like a kid with a broken leg that's looking outside his everybody else is playing in the street and having fun, and it's like, oh man. No. So there's a little bit of that, but I got to be honest. I love New York. I'm not a big fan of the Javits Center and the way that comic convention is run. No disrespect to Reed, but ever since they merged it with the anime and manga stuff, it's like, guys, it was already too crowded before you did that, and now it's worse. But
you want to go to a good show, kids?
Remind them next year.
Terrificon. It's over there. It's terrific. I can't get it. It's back there. August 16th to the 18th. 20s. What year is that? 2024.
Yeah. No, we're excited.
Go.
You've been telling me, well, like we said earlier, Dean Haspiel, another good friend that's going to be.
Dean Haspiel will be at the show. Steve Epting will be at the show.
Oh, that's great. Man, I haven't seen Steve forever.
Howard Chaykin will be at the show.
Yeah, I love Howard.
Scott Snyder will be at the show.
Great to know that Scott
Greg Capullo will be at the show.
Great to know Greg will be there.
Charles Soule will be at the show. Jason Aaron will be at the show.
My buddy Jason.
Yeah, I'm going to keep going. Philip Kennedy Johnson will be at the show.
My buddy Philip, absolutely. No, these are all
I got Mark Waid will be at the show.
Mark going to be there. Man, you guys are not going to see me very much because I'm going to be connecting with all my friends that I don't normally see.
Wayne needs to talk to me about something. I don't know what's going on now. I'm scared right now.
Okay. All right, there you go.
All right.
Yes. All right. Good job, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.